Right. In yesterday's class, in modern India, we started the class with the advent of Europeans. I gave you an understanding on Portuguese, the Dutch. To follow the Dutch, English, Danes, and the French. English coming to India was more an accidental rather than an organized plan. You see, in England, hardcore criminals given capital punishment, either to face the punishment or to go to the New World, that means Americas. John Mindenhall, Rolf Fitch, Francis Day, these were the ones who were given capital punishment. Instead of going to this New World, I mean Americas, they had taken the land route and came to India. John Mindenhall, Rolf Fitch, they visited the court of Akbar, Agra, way back 1599. You see, they have thoroughly been impressed by the prosperity, the wealth India had at that time. I told you already, India, the richest country. When they published their findings and talked about the bright prospects for trading with India, Parliament absolved them of their charges and allowed them to mobilize finance. That way, you see, English East India Company was formed as a joint stock company of shareholders. Okay. In England, this happened in 1600 December. English East India Company formed as a joint stock company of shareholders. In England, you see, Parliament is supreme. Either the king or the queen, to incur expenditure, they must secure the permission of the Parliament. Queen had taken heavy loans from English East India Company. Now, she felt on her part obliged to do a favor for the company. When English East India Company was founded in 1600, Queen granted them the royal order, Farmana Charter, granting them monopoly rights. Monopoly rights in their trade with India for 15 years. I mean, only the members of the English East India Company, only the members of the East India Company permitted to trade with India. If you are not a member of the East India Company, you have no right to trade with India. This is what meant by monopoly rights for the East India Company. With the charter granting them monopoly rights in the trade with India, English entered the waters of the Indian seas. Dragon and Victoria, these were the two ships that entered Arabian Sea, English ships that entered Arabian Sea. I told you in yesterday's class, whoever the European that came to India, their first preference was Surat. Surat, the richest city in 17th century India. I told you many a time this. Right? English tried to get into Surat, whereas Portuguese, I told you, an absolute control of Surat. They had not allowed English to enter, just as they had not allowed the Dutch. So English were forced to go to the east coast, right, just as the Dutch. In 1611, English founded their first settlement at Machilipatnam. Machilipatnam in Andhra Pradesh. Permission granted by the same Sultan of Golconda who gave the Dutch permission, Sultan Muhammad Quli. Muhammad Quli granted them the permission to settle at Machilipatnam. Globe, a ship by name Globe. Globe was the first to reach the east coast, commanded by Captain Hippon. Okay. So English well settled at Machilipatnam. In yesterday's class, I gave you a statement. Wherever the Dutch founded their settlements, English followed them. I mean, Kalingapatnam, Vishakhapatnam, Bhimanipatnam, Narsapuram, Petapoli, Nizampatnam, Nagapatnam, you understand? Pulicat. In all these places, the English founded their settlements. Okay. In 1639, one of the leading merchants of the English East India Company, by name Francis Day. Francis Day obtained the permission from the Raja of Chandragiri, the Venkatapatraya too, Raja of Chandragiri, okay, to settle at Chennai. Okay. Chennapatnam, that's the actual name, Chennapatnam. So English, they got permission to settle at Chennai in 1639. Within 16 years, they made Chennai municipality. I mean, 1655, Chennai became the first municipality in India. I already told you. First municipal corporation, Bhimanipatnam. Chennai, first municipality, 1655. In 1658, they built their first fort in India, Fort St. George. They built their first fort, Fort St. George. That particular year, Madras Presidency was formed. Madras Presidency, the regional headquarters for the English trade. The first presidency of the English in modern India, Madras Presidency was formed, with Francis Day himself, the first president. Francis Day, president, and Madras Presidency, first presidency. In yesterday's class, I told you, English got Surat, English got Bombay as part of dowry, right? Princess Catherine of Braganza married Prince Charles II of England, right? Bombay, they got it as part of dowry. Prince Charles, in turn, rented it out Bombay to English on an annual rent of 10 pounds. From 1668, Bombay became the headquarters of the English trade in the West Coast. I told you in yesterday's class, they built Fort St. David, right? That became the headquarters. That way Bombay Presidency was born. Bombay Presidency in 1668. Look at the way they are moving strategically. For entire South, you had Madras Presidency. For the West, they had Bombay Presidency. Right. Then English entered into Bengal. I told you in yesterday's class, Bengal the richest Subha under the Mughals, richest province under the Mughals. They founded their first settlement in Bengal at Hariharpur. That's the first settlement. They got permission from Shuja, the Mughal governor of Bengal, to settle in whichever the place they would like to settle. Shuja was cured of disease by English doctor George Boughton. By 1653, they could establish their settlements in Dhaka, Chinsura, Kasim Bazar, understand, Hooghly, the major centers of trade and commercial importance. In all these places, English founded their settlements. In 1690, one of the leading merchants of the East India Company, by name Job Chernock, he fortified 3 villages, Kalikatta, Govindapur and Sutanuti. He fortified 3 villages. Fortification of these 3 villages led to the formation of the city, Kolkata. We regard Job Chernock, the real founder of the city, Kolkata. By 1690, city Kolkata was founded. In 1700, English built their fort, first fort in Bengal, Fort Williams. Fort Williams in Kolkata. That particular year, Bengal Presidency was formed. Bengal Presidency was formed with Charles Eyre as the first president. So you see here, towards the end of the 17th century, okay, you had the three presidencies formed, right? Madras Presidency, Bombay, and Bengal Presidency. Well established English. Then what was their trade? Their trade, you see, they exported maximum printed textiles. In one of my classes in medieval India, I told you printed textiles, kalamkari. Okay. Kalamkari printed textiles, okay, world renowned, world famous. Okay. Sri Kalahasti, Machilipatnam, two main centers. Just as that, you had calicos, printed textiles of Calicut, Kerala. These textiles were exported in large quantities, which had ready-made demand in international market. Okay. Then they also exported. Okay. They exported indigo. Indigo, okay, saltpeter, okay, plus raw materials. Raw materials like raw cotton and jute and all that. In the export trade. Then what were the relations between English and the Mughals? When it comes to the relations between English and the Mughals, Captain Hawkins, Captain Edwards, and Sir Thomas Roe, these were the ones who visited the court of Jahangir, the English ambassadors to the court of Jahangir. Then serious differences started between English and Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. Why the differences? English made an attack. They made an attempt to exhibit their strength, taking Mughal governor for granted. They first attacked the fort Hooghly. That was foiled. Their attempt ended up as a failure. Okay. That created the differences for the first time between English and the Mughal governors of Bengal. Secondly, I told you, they fortified three villages. After all, they were traders. They had no right, no territorial rights. Okay. For any fortification or any attempt to expand the territory or the settlement, you have got to take the permission of the governor of Bengal. Right. Without taking the permission, on their own, English fortifying three villages. That's where the differences again started between Mughal governor Shaista Khan and the English. Then I also told you this while discussing Mughals. Emperor Aurangzeb every year used to sponsor Muslims free of cost trips to Makkah. For a Muslim to go to Makkah, they have to go via either Surat or Bombay. Right? Their governors, English governors of Bombay, Jessa and Josiah, they started teasing Muslims going to Makkah. Okay. So these things all had gone to the notice of Aurangzeb. Mughal emperor declared war, defeated English thoroughly, captured all their settlements. Okay. They underestimated the Mughal emperor. Okay. They were forced to come to terms. Okay. They agreed to pay 1,50,000 rupees compensation and to pay customs duties every year. Okay. It is said that they had come to terms with the Mughal emperor. Mughal emperor allowed them to have their settlements. You may ask me a question, why Indian rulers were lenient, liberal with the English merchants? One reason, always, and not one, that's the only reason. Trade between India and England always benefiting Indian. Understand? That's giving a boost to the economy. I told you already, we had nothing to buy from them. They had everything to buy from us. So it's benefiting Indian merchants and Indian economy. That's the reason why the local rulers, liberal with the English, Mughal emperor also liberal with the English, restoring them their settlements, giving them concessions also in the trade, because that is benefiting Indian economy and Indian merchant. Then after the death of Aurangzeb, one of the later Mughal emperors by name Farrukh Sir had also fallen sick. Understand? I told you doctor diplomacy. English had a team of doctors. Whenever any ruler falls sick, they will send the doctor, gain some concession or the other. When Mughal Emperor Farooq Seer had fallen sick, English sent Dr. Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, to attend upon Farooq Seer. Hamilton attended upon Farooq Seer and cured his disease. Farooq Seer overwhelmed with joy. An English delegation led by Sir John Surman called upon the Mughal Emperor Farooq Seer. Farooq Seer granted golden farmana. Two golden farmanas, one farmana, golden farmana already granted to the English by the Sultans of Golconda for promoting better trade between English and the local traders. This is another golden farmana. 1717 golden farmana conferred upon Sir John Surman delegation of the English by Mughal Emperor Farooq Seer. This farmana, very important, my dear, it created the problem, real problem. Farmana exempted English from customs duties in Bengal, Deccan and Gujarat. English not happy. Why they are not happy? Here you have got to understand one thing, very important development. This is the background for the Battle of Plassey, I am telling you. In India, English had two types of trade. Trade by English East India Company. That apart, English merchants allowed to have their own trade. It's called private trade. Why English merchants were allowed to have private trade? Because company paid them much less salaries. Right? It is that English East India Company paid them much less salaries, they are allowed to have private trade. This private trade, my dear, not between England and India and vice versa. This is confined only to India. I mean, English merchant permitted to go for private trade within India, say between Bengal to Chennai, Chennai to Bombay. That's all, not beyond India. You trade within India and make profit and make, some gains out of it. English East India Company permitted its merchants to have private trade. 1717 Golden Farmana exempted the customs duties for the company trade, not for the private trade. That's where the real problem started. Between you and the, another establishment, clash of interest takes place. Definitely you go by your own vested interest. English merchants wanted exemption for their private trade, whereas Golden Farmana exempted customs duty only for company trade. That's where the real problem started. Here, English tried to take a chance with the Mughal governor of Bengal. Mughal governor of Bengal, Murshid Quli Khan. Murshid, very efficient Murshid, an upright officer. Understand? Not permitting English to take liberties with him. When English staked claims for exemption in not only companies' trade but for their private trade, Murshid Quli nullified the Golden Farmana, forcing them to pay taxes not only for their private trade but also company trade. When Murshid Quli, governor of Bengal, nullified Golden Farmana, that's a great insult first to not company, to Mughal Emperor Farooq Seer, because he granted the Golden Farmana. Get the point? Farmana granted by Mughal Emperor, you are nullifying means that is definitely disgrace. That's insult to the Mughal Emperor. Mughal Emperor Farooq Seer declared war on Murshid Quli. Brilliant Murshid Quli defeated Mughal Emperor. Mughal Emperor Farooq Seer defeated by Murshid Quli. For all practical purposes, Mushid Kuli, governor of Bengal, de facto ruler of Bengal. So long as he remained alive, he never allowed English to take liberties with him. Get the point? English had to wait for 40 years. 1717 they got the Golden Harmana. 1757 Battle of Plassey took place. Okay. Right? So this is the background. 1717 Golden Harmana granted by English, creating a problem for Mughal governors and the English. This is about English, their trade and their relationship with the Mughal Empire. What all happened, that we'll discuss later. After the English, you had the Danes coming to India. Danish East India Company, founded in 1616. They had only two settlements in India, Tranqueber now part of Chennai, Tranqueber, and Serampur. Serampur means Srirampur, near Kolkata. Of all the Europeans that came to India, Danes were the ones who devoted more their energy and their resources for promoting Christianity. Actually, they were not interested in trade and commerce. Right? That's why in 1845, they disposed of their two settlements, Tranqueber, Serampur, to the English and left India for all. That way you see in some textbooks, you don't see the reference to Danes at all. Their presence insignificant. Clear. After the Danes, you had the French East India Company. Right. French East India Company, founded in 1664 by Jean Colbert, the finance minister, Jean Colbert. You call Jean Colbert the financial wizard. When French economy was in its crisis, it was this man responsible for reviving the prospects for the French. That's Jean Colbert. Jean Colbert, the person responsible for the formation of French East India Company, 1664, finance minister of Louis XIV. Right. Now French entered India. No problem for the French to straightaway go to Surat. Already, Dutch, English, they all entered into Surat. Control of Portuguese completely ended on Surat. That way, it turned very easy for the French to straightaway enter into Surat. Right. French founded their settlements in Yanam, Andhra Pradesh, near Kakinada. Okay. Pondicherry, Karkai means Karaikal. Pondicherry and Karkai both come under Tamil Nadu. Mahe in the Malabar coast, Kerala. They had only one settlement in Bengal, Chandranagar. Chandranagar or Chandranagore. These were the settlements. Headquarters of the French trade, Pondicherry. Headquarters of the French trade. This place, Pondicherry, actually called Valikundapuram. That's the actual name. Valikundapuram. City Pondicherry, founded by French governor, Francois Martin. You go to Pondicherry, in the heart of the city, you see the statue of Francois Martin. Martin, the founder of the city Pondicherry, headquarters of the French trade. French trade definitely not encouraging in its initial stages. All these European companies had their balance of trade in favor of India. They had never had their balance of trade in their favor. But you have got to trade with India. At least you can make profit by selling the Indian goods in international market. In the trade between the Europeans and Indians, Europeans are not gaining anything. Their gains are only because of selling the product outside. Right. I told you Indians had nothing to buy from the Europeans. Right. Here Dumas and Lambes, the French governors, they were responsible for reviving the fortunes of the French. Thanks to the efforts of these two, French trade could flourish well. Okay. Then you see Dupleix entered. Okay. Dupleix, okay. It's not duplex, okay. Dupleix. Okay. Problem is with the pronunciation of the French names, certain alphabets stand, you shall not utter them. They remain silent there. Okay. Louis, okay, it's not Louis, S silent there. Louis, like that. Dumas, Lambes, Dupleix. Dupleix, the French governor. Very ambitious Dupleix. Dynamic Dupleix. Man with tremendous abilities. Great vision. Okay. Point here is, it's not that merely a vision important. The ability to execute that is equally important. This man gifted with both tremendous foresight and the ability to execute his plans. Okay. Dupleix became the French governor. Okay. Dupleix potentially capable of creating problem for the English. Okay. Now you are going to discuss the chapter Anglo-French Wars or Carnatic Wars. Why these wars? Okay. Actually, they had nothing to do, no reason here to fight with each other, going by, their settlements in India and their trade in India. The background European history. In Europe, I told you, two major powers, Portuguese and the Spanish. They were the two major powers. Okay. Then they were superseded by England and France. Rivalry between England and France turned traditional, inveterate enmity. As and when they got an opportunity, they used to clash with each other. Very frequent clashes used to take place between the two in European history. You had 100 Years' War, okay, 7 Years' War, Austrian Succession War. At every opportunity, okay, whenever there are two parties clashing in Europe, these two will go there so that they can take sides there and fight with each other. So there was a long-lasting rivalry between the two. They extended this rivalry wherever they went. Now both are present in India. Just as Voltaire used to say, the shots fired by the English and the French in the battles fought in Europe, okay, they produce their echoes wherever the two present. That means what? They extend their rivalry wherever they go. Okay. Now both are present in India. Okay. Both are making plans to go for clash with each other. Okay. For English, okay, threat is looming there in the form of Dupleix, very efficient Dupleix. They are very sensitive to the problem from Dupleix's side. For Dupleix, why not French Empire in India? Why not French Empire in India? Mughal Empire heading for its collapse. Indian rulers, no unity. Indian armed forces, highly backward. Okay. Why not you try for a French Empire in India? This imperialist designs of the French by the governor Dupleix definitely going to harm the interests of the English. That's why you see the clash between the two. This clash, you call it as Anglo-French rivalry. For this rivalry, Carnatic, the center. Carnatic, remember, C-A-R-N-A-T-I-C. C-A-R-N-A-T-I-C, Carnatic, a small kingdom in Tamil Nadu with the capital city Arcot. Okay. Arcot, capital city. Okay. That had become the ground for the clashes between English and the French. That's why the wars otherwise called Carnatic Wars. Okay. First Carnatic War, 1746-48. Reason, Austrian Succession War. Okay. A war started in Europe called Austrian Succession War. There England and France had taken sides. I told you, as and when they get an opportunity, they clash swords with each other. Austrian Succession War started in Europe, where England and France, they entangled in a war with each other. Now the same thing was extended to India. I told you, English quite sensitive to the threat from Duplessis' side, but they never expected that Duplessis would hit them back. Okay. In such a swift and in a quick manner. Okay. 1746, okay, one night Duplessis ordered the march of his navy, okay, towards Chennai. You see, from Pondicherry to Chennai, it's just a matter of 2 hours. Right? The midnight, okay, English were not aware of these things, you understand. They were caught by surprise. They knew Duplessis would hit them, but they never expected that he would attack them so suddenly. They are not actually prepared. Duplessis attacked Chennai, captured Fort St. George. Okay. 500 English merchants were caught by Duplessis as prisoners. Some could manage to escape, run away, escape. Now where to go? For the English, where to go and to complain to whom? Fort St. George, Chennai, it comes under the jurisdiction of the Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin. So the defeated English went to the court of Anwaruddin, complained against the French to Anwaruddin, Nawab Anwaruddin. Nawab Anwaruddin, okay, had sympathy for the English. He sent 10,000 army in support of English against Duplessis. Okay. Brilliant Duplessis defeated these 10,000 armed forces of Nawab Anwaruddin with his 1100 French army. 1100. Nawab Anwaruddin's 10,000. Remember this Battle of Santhom. Battle of Santhom near Adayar, Chennai. Okay, the first battle in modern India. First battle in modern India between foreign and native armies. Okay, Battle of Santhom. Importance of this battle being the first battle in modern India between foreign and native armies. This was the battle that exposed the weakness of the native Indian army. Weakness of the native Indian army. What is the weakness of native Indian army? Lack of sophistication, number one. Number two, discipline. Okay. Another important thing, when Duplessis defeated Anwaruddin's armed forces, Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah, Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah congratulated Duplessis. Means what? Okay, that's quite explicit. No unity at all in the Indian leadership. Mughal Emperor congratulating Duplessis for defeating Anwaruddin. Right. That's why you see Duplessis was very much convinced. If you make a concerted attempt, it's not something difficult for you to found an empire in India. I tell you, I'll go to the extent of telling you people, it's in fact Duplessis that made the English. Duplessis that made the English to understand the ways and means in founding their own empire. He set himself a model. Understand? English very closely observing Duplessis, learning lessons from Duplessis. Are you getting the point? I tell you, for that matter, okay, French never respected Duplessis much. English respected Duplessis because he made them to understand how to exploit the opportunity more. Okay. Now Duplessis in absolute command, understand, holding Fort St. George under his control, defeating the Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin. Unfortunately for the French, in Europe, France was defeated by England. France was defeated by England. War ended with the Paris Treaty. In the Paris Treaty, 1748, defeated France was made to surrender Fort St. George to the English. Are you understanding? In India, French could defeat the English. Whereas in Europe, English defeated The French. Okay. So defeated French, even though they won the war, even though they captured Fort St. George, they were made to surrender Fort St. George to the English. Okay. Now what can you make out of this? Okay. We can definitely make out that both the parties not happy after the end of the First Carnatic War. Both the parties not happy for the reasons, number one, English, okay, very badly being defeated. Okay. That made them definitely not happy. Okay. Badly defeated by the French. French not happy because they could not gain anything out of the war. Even though they defeated the English, they were forced to surrender. Okay, what all that gain? Okay, Fort St. George to the English. So neither of the parties get happy after the war. In other words, they were waiting for an opportunity, another opportunity to go for a clash with each other. And that opportunity came very soon, very next year. Second Carnatic War, 1749-54. Second Carnatic War. The main cause for the war, the death of Asaf Shah Nizam ul Mulk. If you remember, I told you, 1724, modern state of Hyderabad was founded by Asaf Shah Nizam ul Mulk. In the Mughal court, while discussing Marathas, I told you, in the Mughal court you had three groups, Irani, Thurani and Hindustani. Right. Thurani faction, Thurani group, was led by Sadat Khan Burhan ul Mulk and Asaf Shah Nizam ul Mulk. These two, the heads of the Thurani group, they killed Sayyid brothers, heads of the Hindustani group. You remember I told you Sayyid brothers, kingmakers, the heads of the Hindustani group. Okay. Thurani group now ended the Hindustani group's domination in the Mughal court. They expected Mughal emperor to conduct himself better and inspire them. Thurani is very efficient people. Okay. Seasoned military commanders, well-experienced revenue officers. They wanted Mughal emperor to inspire them. Unfortunately, Mughal emperor, a lackluster leader. You remember Muhammad Shah, an expert in Kathak dancer, okay. Rangela, okay. Rangela we call it. Okay. Thurani group definitely not happy with the Mughal emperor, uninspiring Mughal emperor. Sadat Khan founded independent kingdom of Ayodhya. Asaf Shah left the Mughal court. Even not informing the Mughal emperor, he came down to Deccan and founded independent kingdom of Hyderabad, 1724. Asaf Shah Nizam ul Mulk, okay. Founder of the modern state of Hyderabad. While discussing this, I told you people, Hyderabad, biggest princely state in modern India. Remember this. Biggest princely state in modern India. Hyderabad does not mean simply the city Hyderabad. Hyderabad meant Aurangabad in Maharashtra to Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. Hyderabad, biggest princely state with 17 districts. Within Hyderabad, you had 5 states. Right. Now, Asaf Shah Nizam ul Mulk, founder of the modern state of Hyderabad, he died. A civil war started in Hyderabad between the successors of Asaf Shah. Civil war was between Nasir Jang and Muzaffar Jang. Nasir and Muzaffar. Okay. I told you wherever two parties were clashing, English and French would definitely take sides there. Okay. English supported Nasir Jang. French supported Muzaffar Jang. Right. In Carnatic, a similar situation arose. In Carnatic, Nawab Anwaruddin Nawab, challenged by his son-in-law Chanda Sahib. Okay. English supporting Anwaruddin, French obviously supporting Chanda Sahib. So you had two camps here, military camps, war camps. Okay. Again, it was Dupleix, French Governor Dupleix, scoring a brilliant victory against the English and their allied forces. Dupleix defeated Anwaruddin, English, and Nasir Jang, their allied forces, combined armies, in the battle Amber, A-M-B-U-R, Amber. It was in this battle Anwaruddin and Nasir Jang both were killed. Battle of Amber. Whereas French candidate to become Nawab in Hyderabad, Muzaffar Jang, French candidate. Poor fellow, he was also killed. He was also killed while returning back to Hyderabad. Friends of Nasir Jang, Nawabs of Kurnool and Kadapa in Andhra Pradesh, they waylaid Muzaffar Jang and killed him. So French candidate for the Gaddi throne of Hyderabad, Muzaffar Jang could not reach Hyderabad. Dupleix entered Hyderabad, declared Salabat Jang as the Nawab of Hyderabad. Salabat Jang never dreamt of himself becoming Nawab. Okay. Now he was made Nawab of Hyderabad. Nawab Salabat Jang gave away Northern Sarkars. What all I am explaining, follow these developments very carefully. Northern Sarkars means 4 coastal districts of Andhra Pradesh. Okay. Coastal belt of Andhra Pradesh, you had 4 districts. These 4 districts are called Northern Sarkar. Sarkar means district. Okay. Coastal belt of Andhra Pradesh, 4 districts, Northern Sarkars, given away by Nawab Salabat Jang to the French. Okay. In return, French agreed to protect the state of Hyderabad from any external threat. Now kindly apply yourself and answer my question. This understanding comes very close to that of? Very good. Subsidiary alliance system. Okay. You Nawab, don't worry. Any external threat, we are there to protect you. Take care of our interests. Problem for the state of Hyderabad, very frequently been attacked by Marathas. Now French agreed to protect the state of Hyderabad against Maratha incursions, Maratha invasions. Okay. Nawab giving French 4 coastal districts of Andhra Pradesh, very rich fertile lands of Andhra Pradesh. Dupleix at the height of his power, my dear. Okay. In Carnatic, he made Chanda Sahib as the Nawab. With one shot, 2 birds. Okay. Hyderabad and Carnatic, both coming under the control of Dupleix. Dupleix the kingmaker. Dupleix at the height of his power, okay, during Second Carnatic War. But you see, you can't remain always lucky and powerful. Right? Fate is powerful more than these two. Okay. Fault lies with Dupleix. Dupleix went to Trichy, Tiruchirappalli, without even informing his junior officers. It's a secret visit he made to Trichy. Somehow English had come to know about this, that the French governor had been to Trichy. Okay. Brilliant idea flashed in the mind of Robert Clive. Okay. You got a question on this in UPSC. What was Robert Clive when he captured the Fort Arcot? Robert Clive, my dear, after all an accountant, Gumasta in the English East India Company administration when he started his career. Robert Clive, to begin with, an Gumasta, an accountant in English East India Company administration. Now Clive sent a contingent of 10 troops to Trichy to capture Dupleix there, imprison Dupleix there. On his own, taking 49, with 49 soldiers, Finally, they became 200. Look at that, even 200 number is something insignificant, right? This is what is really surprising and that baffles the historian. Okay. How they could create history, how they could win over the enemies with such a small contingents of armed forces. Okay. In a daring attempt, Robert Clive attacked Arcot, captured Arcot, held the fort for 53 days under his control. Okay. Dupleix imprisoned in Trichy, Tiruchirappalli. Lot confusion came to prevail in the French camp. Are a governor not seen? Nawab of Carnatic, Chanda Shahi, was killed in the battle Arini, A-R-I-N-I. Chanda Shahi was killed. Yes. Who is responsible for this disaster? Okay. It was Dupleix himself responsible. Governor, okay, not informing his administration, okay, going to Trichy. French lost Carnatic. In Carnatic, English declared Muhammad Ali, son of Anwaruddin, as the Nawab. Muhammad Ali, son of Anwaruddin. Now English were in virtual command of the state Carnatic. Okay. Dupleix was suspended by the French. That's why I said, okay, Dupleix respected more by English than French. Understand? He made them to understand the lessons. He trained them how to exploit a situation to their advantage. They learned a lot from Dupleix. Okay. Dupleix suffered abject poverty. Poor fellow died suffering poverty. Understand? New governor, Godehue, he concluded a treaty with the English. That's what is called Pondicherry Treaty, 1754. Better you conclude a treaty with the English. Why? Because you will not have at least that also. If war continued, there is every possibility of losing even Hyderabad. That's why war ended with the Pondicherry Treaty. End of the war, English with Carnatic, French with Hyderabad. Right? War ended with Pondicherry Treaty. Right. Then you have Third Carnatic War. Okay. Third Carnatic War just after 2 years again. Understand? Third Carnatic War, 1756 to 63. It started with the 7 Years' War in Europe between England and France. War started between England and France, called 7 Years' War. With that, both the parties again geared themselves up for another clash. Third Carnatic War. By the time Third Carnatic War started, see, from the beginning it's, great, loss for the French. From the beginning itself. Okay. War one-sided from the beginning. By the time the war started, French commander Bussy was not actually in Hyderabad. I am explaining another important development, follow this carefully. In the coastal belt of Andhra Pradesh, okay, I told you northern Sarkars, 4 districts. These 4 districts under the control of French. Okay, Nawab, Salabat Jang gave them northern Sarkars, right? In the coastal belt of Andhra Pradesh, we had very powerful Jamindars. Okay. Raja of Vijayanagaram, the richest Jamindar of modern India. Remember this. Have you heard of Ashok Gajapati Raju, former cabinet minister in Modi's government? Okay. Ashok Gajapati Raju comes from the royal family, Rajas of Vijayanagaram. Okay. Rajas of Vijayanagaram, a Jamindari. I am not talking about Vijayanagara Empire. Vijayanagar Empire in Karnataka, state Karnataka, capital city Hampi. Right? I am referring to another place called Vijayanagaram, near Visakhapatnam. Okay. Vijayanagaram, a Jamindari. Jamindar of Vijayanagaram, the richest in modern India. Right? They had one neighboring Jamindari, Bobbili, Bobbili. Very frequent clashes used to take place between the two, the Rajas of Vijayanagaram and Bobbili Jamindars. Frequent clashes. Now, whose headache to sort out this problem? It is the problem now it is the headache of French to deal with the problem because this area came under their control. Bussy, French commander, he came to Visakhapatnam to sort out this problem. Here, Bussy supported Raja of Vijayanagaram, Vijayanam Ras, against the Jamindar of Bobbili, Rangarao. French shot dead. A war took place. Rangarao, Jamindar of Bobbili, was shot dead. That's called Bobbili Battle, 1757. You have Jamindari revolts. When I go to Jamindari revolts of modern India, I will again get back to you on that. Okay. So here there are disturbances in the coastal belt of Andhra Pradesh, and French governor was in Visakhapatnam, Bussy, sorting out the problem between Rajas of Vijayanagaram and Bobbili. English had come to know that the French commander was not in Hyderabad. Okay. Madras government sent Colonel Ford to Vele Bussy, see that Bussy will not reach Hyderabad. Okay. So that they will occupy Hyderabad. Okay. Colonel Ford stationed himself on the banks of river Godavari, waiting for Bussy to return back to Hyderabad. Anyone that goes to coastal belt of Andhra Pradesh, they have to come via Godavari river only. Okay. On the banks of river Godavari, at a place called Chendurti, a war took place between Bussy and Colonel Ford. Bussy was defeated. French governor Bussy defeated by Colonel Ford. Means what? English lost. Hyderabad. English lost Hyderabad. I'm sorry. French lost Hyderabad. French commander Bussy defeated. Okay, by Colonel Ford. French lost Hyderabad. So the beginning of the war itself a disaster for the French. They lost Hyderabad. They made a desperate attempt. Okay. They invited Count de Lally, the supreme commander for the French navy stationed at Diego Garcia. Okay. Their navy, very huge navy French had, they deployed this in Diego Garcia. If that navy stationed in Diego Garcia reaches Pondicherry, then it would be a major problem for the English. What to do? Now English pressed into action their brilliant commander, Colonel Aircourt. Okay. Colonel Aircourt inflicted a crushing defeat. Entire French navy altogether destroyed. In the battle, Vandevèche or Vandavasi. Okay. Entire French navy destroyed. French could never recover again. Okay. This is one of the most decisive battles in modern India, giving a death blow to the French. Expectations, never they recovered. Understand? War ended with the Paris Treaty 1764. In the Paris Treaty, England put forth very harsh terms and conditions against the French. Okay, that they should not fortify their settlements, not to maintain their armed forces, not to join any princely state and train them in the military and warfare. Understand? That's why it is said, after the Third Carnatic War, France was made a toothless tiger. Whether they remain in India or not, it's not going to make any difference at all after the Third Carnatic War. Okay. I told you luck favored English at every stage. Between 1757 to 1764, 7 years. Whatever they touched upon, it turned into gold for them. Okay. No failure at all. 1757, already they got Bengal under their control. By 1757, killing Siraj, Nawab Siraj. Okay. 1759, they had defeated the Dutch, forced them to leave India. Now you see 1760, Battle of Vandeways. A disaster for the French. Okay. I discussed this while dealing with third battle of Panipat, remember? In the third battle of Panipat, the question, the battle benefited whom? Okay. Finally, we decided it had not benefited either the English or the Marathas. English benefited in the sense it had given them time to consolidate their position, not to the extent of becoming rulers of India. Marathas definitely met with a disaster, the third battle of Panipat. Okay. But within 10 years, again, they could swing back. They could come to a stage of challenging the English. Third battle of Panipat not decided the question, who should rule India, I told you, remember? We discussed that third battle of Panipat. Okay. But definitely you see at every stage English had advantage. Right? No defeat at all for them. Okay. This is the end of Anglo-French rivalry. Right? End of the Third Carnatic War, English very well placed in India. Concluding part of this chapter, what was the overall impact of the European trade on Indian economy? Okay. That's not given in your printed material, just listen. Okay. When European companies entered India, right, how their trade affected changes in Indian economy. Portuguese, you see, they were the first to introduce commercial crops like tobacco, potato, papaya, green chili, they all entered with Portuguese. You mean before Portuguese entering India smoking free zone? Yes, definitely, my dear. Yeah. Portuguese brought India tobacco. Question in UPSC, who encouraged extensive cultivation of tobacco? It was Mughal Emperor Jahangir. Jahangir encouraging extensive cultivation of tobacco. I said green chilies, papaya, potato, different types of varieties of mangoes also, different types of mangoes. You must have heard of Alfonso, a type of mango. Okay. Albuquerque, there's a fruit again, Albuquerque. They all started with the Portuguese. Okay. Second important thing is, Europeans introduced new systems of trade and transactions. Okay. There's a system called hundi system. Hundi system means it's just like your demand drafts. Okay. Demand drafts. It's not safe for you to carry cash with you. Deposit the cash, take a promissory note, exchange the note wherever you want to do. Understand? There's a system of bills of exchange, right expression, bills of exchange, just like our demand drafts. Okay. This entered and it became popular in India as a result of European trade with India. A system of bills of exchange quite similar to that of demand drafts called hundi system. It became quite popular. Third important development, a system of advances. See, the problem for the European merchants, they are not conversant with local languages. They have no idea about the area known for crops, which crop they want, where the crop cultivated and all that. They had practically no idea about this. So they depended upon the Indian merchants. These Indian merchants acting as the middlemen. middlemen between the Europeans and the Indian peasantry. You see here Indian peasantry, primary producers. Primary producer is peasant, right? Now European merchants employing Indian merchants as middlemen between themselves and the Indian peasant. Right. Indian peasantry given advances. Right. This system is what is called Dadini system. What do you mean by Dadini? Dadini system means a system of advances. Okay. System of advances. Okay. European merchants employing Indian middlemen. Indian middlemen called Dadini merchants. They go to the remote areas, they give advance to the Indian cultivators, peasantry, get the crop cultivated and hand it over in turn to the European merchant. Right? But in cultivation of one crop, indigo, the name is entirely different. That is called Tinkatiya system. I am explaining this, follow this very carefully. Because this is the system that created a major problem for the peasantry in modern India. You have great movement, indigo rebellion against this system only. A system of advances in indigo cultivation called Tinkatiya system. Teen, 1/3. In this system of advances, okay, once you have taken the advance from the European merchant, means you are totally under their control. Okay. They will come. Right. They will supervise. They will go for, surveying your land. They will see your land. They will decide in which land you have to cultivate indigo. Right. Secondly, they follow their own weights and measures. For instance, the understanding is you have to give them 10 quintals of indigo. Right. You cultivated indigo. But for them it's only 5 quintals. They follow their own weights and measures, cheating you. Thirdly, what the advance given to you, that's final. Okay. They will not pay you anything more than that. Even though the market price is more than the advance, you have to remain contented with the advance only. Okay. They will not pay you anything more than that. Okay. The real problem here, indigo crop, a commercial crop. Right. Commercial crop, it demands lot of time and attention. As a result, you see severe shortage of food crops started, causing man-made famines in Bengal, Bihar region. That's why Indian peasantry, a point came where Indian peasantry refused to take the advance and cultivate indigo. You have a great indigo rebellion, 1858-1860 in modern India. Okay. So a system of advances called Dadini, right? Dadini. In cultivation of indigo, it was Tinkatiya. It's called Tinkatiya system. These systems entered, forcing Indian peasantry, finally resulting in the exploitation of the Indian peasantry. Right. Then you see Europeans targeting our India's shipbuilding industry. Why first they targeted shipbuilding industry? This is the process of deindustrialization. Okay. What do you mean by deindustrialization? A systematic policy of destroying the native industry. Okay. Europeans could clearly understand why India could dominate the international trade. India could dominate the international trade mainly because of its superiority when it comes to shipbuilding. Remember, our ships are world's best ships. You know this. Yeah. India's shipbuilding industry rated world's best. Okay. We manufactured dhow, DHAVS, dhows. Dhows rated world's best. They would remain in waters for however long the time required. And very interestingly, free from rusting. Okay. What made the Indian ship remain without rusting, without getting rusted? Okay. We never use iron nails. In shipbuilding, we go for coir nails. You know coir? C-O-I-R. Very sharply chiseled coir nails you use in the shipbuilding. Understand? That's why they remain without getting rusted. Okay. See, breeze itself is enough to get iron rusted, turned rusted. Okay. Here, Indian shipbuilding industry, okay, world famous, okay, with dhows. Right. Second best, Chinese ships called junkers. They are rated second best in the world. Okay. Now, England particularly targeted our shipbuilding industry. It's because of this shipbuilding industry, India could dominate the international trade. So, how to affect the shipbuilding industry of India? Navigational acts were passed. Actually, these navigational acts were passed by England, okay, meant for 13 colonies of America. America also faced the same problem. England not encouraging any manufacturing in 13 colonies. When I go to world history, I'll tell you. There's a policy called mercantilism. In mercantilism, colonial power makes a colony virtually dependent upon the colonial power. No manufacturing, nothing. These navigational acts prohibited manufacturing, shipping, understand? No shipbuilding at all. Trade between England and the colonies must be routed through only England-based ships. Okay. Indians, you are trading with we the English, you have to use only our ships. That means the ships of England. You shall not use your dhows. Are you understanding? The restriction here, Indians shall not use their own native ships called dhows. As a result, the shipbuilding industry finally became redundant. Okay. What is the point of manufacturing the ship? You are not trading with them, okay, in your ship. You are trading with them in their own ships. For that, you have to pay again user charges. You may ask me a question, why Indian merchants accepted these terms and conditions? One simple reason, trade always in favor of Indians. That's why they accepted. Consequent effect of that, okay, unfortunately, okay, our shipbuilding industry got affected. First industry, targeted and affected, okay, shipbuilding industry. You see, India had world's richest merchants, okay, coming from India. Okay. Vriji Vohra, a Konkani, Vriji Vohra. Okay. He had around 1,200 dhows, very huge ships under his command. Okay. So at every stage you see, trade completely dominated by India. English. But this is all, you see, entirely a different story. Once Battle of Plassey had taken place, 1757 onwards, the tables turned against India by the English. Okay. So overall impact, okay, definitely not good in the interests of India. Okay. Though we benefited from the trade, the long-term effects were rather disastrous. Initially, we benefited, but the long-term results rather disastrous. Clear? This is the end of the first chapter, the advent of Europeans. Any questions? Don't go to the printed material. Ask me many questions, I explain. Any question?
Indians had such great shipbuilding, ship manufacturing industry, why didn't we develop as superior a navy as the British or
Would you please come again, my dear?
If we had such a prolific shipbuilding manufacturing industry, right, why didn't we develop such a great navy as the Britishers did?
See, the problem is there is another implication of your question. I think perhaps you are asking why we could never had a powerful navy. Which navy? Merchant navy or warship?
Ships were dumb.
Sorry? Dhows were meant for cargo, my dear, shifting cargoes. Merchant navy. Right? They are not meant for wars. That all ended with Cholas. Get the point? If you remember, in medieval India, I told you Cholas, the ones who maintained utmost powerful navy, controlling controlling Hindu Ocean and Bay of Bengal. After that, no dynasty ever paid attention. Right? So it's merchant navy, I'm telling you.
Also, sir, how is this? You said that it favored Indians, right? When the trade favored Indians, that's why they conceded to the demands that Britishers or the Europeans made. But here, if our shipbuilding industry was as great as it was, how was it beneficial for us to let them deindustrialize our shipbuilding?
No, you have not got my statements. I said whatever the trade that had taken place between India and European countries, it benefited Indians. Right? That is in the beginning. Okay. I said the long-term effects were disastrous. Okay. It's not going to cause further development of the Indian economy. Get the point? It appears as a gain in the beginning. Okay. This you will understand when I go to colonial policies and their impact. Okay. When I explain that chapter, you will understand it better. Any other question?
Sir, is there anything worth mentioning regarding Maratha Navy? Because Indian Navy, till recent times, says that India's rich heritage of Navy was related to Marathas and Shivaji. Is
Right.
there anything interesting or was it about Cholas only?
No. You are not getting the important point here. Maratha Navy under Shivaji stationed at Kolaba, right? This is meant for preventing the piracy, right? This piracy is mainly because of the Portuguese. Get the point? And where was the tradition of maintaining and continuing this navy after Shivaji? Unfortunately, it had not taken place. Whereas Cholas, their policy was to continue this policy. Continue the system of promoting the navy, powerful navy. I gave a statement also, sweeping statement, Maldives, the major shipbuilding industry, of the Cholas shipbuilding industry concentrated in Maldives. Maldives is center for shipbuilding industry. Such hectic activity with regarding shipbuilding industry, controlling the sea, was never policy of Marathas. Right? Their navy was meant only to prevent piracy. That ended with Shivaji. Right. We are going to the next chapter. Okay. I will make the corrections later. We will go to the next chapter connected with the advent of Europeans. Okay. British imperialism in modern India. Okay. You see, imperialism, I defined imperialism, one power overpowering the other. Okay. It goes invariably with conquest. Okay. With the military might, you are conquering, right, one country. I made it clear also, in imperialism, you may or you may not rule, but you will definitely exhibit your might. Okay. Imperialism, it need not need not be that one power to rule the other. It definitely goes with conquest, but it may not end with rule. Okay. You may or you may not rule. Before industrial revolution, it was industrial, imperialism only, no colonialism. There are very rare instances of colonialist tendencies you see before industrial revolution. What was colonialism then? I will explain, because the next chapter is that only. Okay. Imperialism, take it. For this particular class, okay, concept imperialism, you have to confine yourself to political conquest. It all started with Bengal. In India, imperialism started with the conquest of Bengal. I told you Bengal, the richest, under the Mughals. The state with maximum prosperity, wealth. I gave you a rough estimation also. Okay. The annual yield from Bengal, 1.87 crores to the Mughal emperor. Remember, name any crop, you can get it cultivated in Bengal, I said. In Bengal, you had major trade centers, right? Hooghly, Dhaka, Chinsura, Qasim Bazar. Another advantage for Bengal, the hinterland opportunity with river Ganga. It's an excellent, means for promoting navigation, hinterland opportunities for the trade and commerce. That's why Bengal attracted the attention of all the Europeans. Whoever that came to India, their first choice is city Surat. After city Surat, Bengal. In 1700, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb appointed Shaista Khan as the Deputy Subedar of Bengal. Shaista, father-in-law, after the death of, not 1700, I'm sorry, way back 1690, Shaista was appointed. After the death of Shaista, Murshid Quli was made the Deputy Subedar. 1700 onwards, Murshid Quli acting as the Deputy Subedar of Bengal. For Murshid Quli, his loyalties were more for Aurangzeb because he appointed him. So long as Aurangzeb remained, Murshid Quli, a loyal servant of the Mughal throne, Mughal Empire. In 1707, Aurangzeb died. Thenceforth, Murshid Quli, for all practical purposes, the independent ruler of Bengal. Understand? For him, his loyalties were for Aurangzeb, not for the successors of Aurangzeb. Okay. I told you Murshid Quli, seasoned revenue officer, okay, apart from being a military commander, okay, seasoned revenue officer. Murshid Quli introduced a series of reforms, strengthening the Bengal economy. What are these reforms? Number one, he granted emergency loans called Takavi. Takavi loans, emergency loans for the cultivators. That way, agricultural economy well developed, number one. Next, number two, Murshid Quli introduced, follow this, very important, a new revenue system called revenue farming in English. In English, you call it revenue farming. In Persian, we call it Ijradari system. Ijra, I-Z-R-A, I-Z-R-A, Ijradari system. What was this system? It's a system where revenue collection rights would be decided by auctioning. Okay. Auctioning would take place. Highest bidder in the auction, he would get the revenue collection rights. Revenue collection rights for collecting the revenue in that particular locality or jamindari. Okay. This is what is called Ijradari system. This system was not introduced by Murshid Quli for the first time, my dear, get me right. This was actually drafted and introduced by Mughal Wazir, Prime Minister of the Mughals, Zulfikar Ali. Wazir, the finance minister of the Mughals, Zulfikar Ali, he introduced the system. Whereas in Bengal, it was first introduced by Murshid Quli. This is what I meant by saying that. Okay. Murshid Quli first to introduce it in Bengal. It does not mean he was the first to draft the system. System already introduced by Zulfikar Ali, Mughal Prime Minister. Okay. So, revenue farming system, this is very interesting and important. Why? Because it became the basis for English to draft their revenue policies. When I go to revenue policies of the English, I will draw your attention again to that point. Okay. So, system revenue farming, it started with Murshid Quli. Murshid Quli shifted the capital city from Dhaka to Murshidabad, capital city of Bengal. Remember, my dear, Bengal, the not only richest, the biggest. The biggest Subha under the Mughals, Bengal. Bengal means today's West Bengal, Bangladesh, Northeast, all put together, Bengal, including Bihar and Odisha also later. Okay. Murshid Quli bribed the Mughal Emperor, Muhammad Shah, Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah, and got Odisha added to Bengal. During his times, Bengal meant Bengal and Odisha. During the times of Murshid Quli. You remember, just half an hour ago I told you, English got golden farmana, right, conferred upon them by Farooq Seer. Murshid Quli nullified golden farmana, forced the English to pay customs duties. Okay. That way, Murshid Quli acted quite tough with the English, never allowed them to take liberties with him. Right. Murshid Quli renovated Port Kolkata for providing better opportunities for trade and commerce. A visionary, undoubtedly, Murshid Quli. Murshid Quli had no sons, only daughters. His first son-in-law, Shujauddin. After Murshid Quli, Shujauddin became Subedar. Remember here, Subedar and Nawab. Okay. You are called Subedar when you are a loyal servant of the Mughal state. When you act independently, you are Nawab. Okay. First you are Subedar, then only you are Nawab. Okay. Right. Because entire territory belongs to the Mughal emperor. You have to accept him. Theoretically, he is the head. Okay. Practically, you might be independent. First it goes without saying that you are the civil servant of the Mughal emperor. First you are a Subedar. Okay. You may exercise your independence and your autonomy. Then you act as Nawab. Right? After Murshid Quli, his son-in-law Shujauddin came to power. Shujauddin bribed Mughal emperor Muhammad Shah and got Odisha added to Bengal. Question in UPSC, during whose times Bengal meant Bengal, Bihar and Odisha? It was during the times of Shujauddin, son-in-law of Murshid Quli. During his times, Bengal meant Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Alivardi, deputy Subedar of Bihar, killed grandson of Murshid Quli, Sarfaraz Khan, and came to power. So, from 1740 to 56, Alivardi, the Subedar of Bengal, in a way he acted as Nawab of Bengal. Alivardi. Though Alivardi came to power by foul means, he was quite efficient. Okay. Protecting Bengal, maintaining the territorial sovereignty of Bengal, not allowing English to take advantage. Understand? During the times of Alivardi, you see the population of the city Kolkata increased phenomenally. That's the question in UPSC. During whose times the population of the city Kolkata increased phenomenally. Why the population increased phenomenally? Alivardi invited Muslim merchants, Lucknowi merchants particularly, to come in large number and to settle in the city Kolkata. It's because of the settlements of these merchants, Muslim merchants from outside, the population of the city Kolkata increased phenomenally. That is the question given by UPSC, during whose times population increased phenomenally. It was during the times of Alivardi. In 1756, Alivardi died. Before his death, he nominated Shiraz, his grandson Shiraz, as his successor. Gave a sane advice to Shiraz. My dear grandson Shiraz, everything all right for Bengal, but be careful. Be careful with King John and Company. Remember, English East India Company's other name, King John and Company. That is the other name of English East India Company. Here, Alivardi gave a sane advice to Shiraz to be watchful, to be careful with the English, not to allow them to take advantage. Okay? Why? Because, you see, Alivardi came to power in 1740. Alivardi died in 1756. Alivardi had seen before his eyes two Carnatic wars. Right? Two Carnatic wars, 1746, 48, 49 to 54. Right? Two Carnatic wars he had seen. What happened finally? The native Nawabs became puppets in the hands of either the English or the French. So these two parties clash with each other and finally they will make you understand, a puppet, right? A dummy. Don't allow them to clash with each other in the soil Bengal. Shiraz, that's the advice, sane advice by Alivardi. And Alivardi died. Okay. Now Shiraz, grandson of Alivardi, came to power. Okay. From the day one onwards, the problems started. Problems started between Shiraz and the English. See, the disadvantage Shiraz had, number one, age. Too young, 22-year-old, no experience in the art of administration. That's number one drawback. Second problem of Shiraz, blind faith in friends, friendship. Okay. These were things went wrong for Shiraz. Kind-hearted, gentle Shiraz, definitely not fit for administration. There's no place here. In administration, you have to be very, very careful. You may listen to everyone, but finally you have to take decisions. You can't expect yourself to depend upon others. You are dependent means people will take you for granted. That's what now happened to Shiraz. You see what happened. Differences started between Nawab Shiraz and the English. For the reasons, number one, English wanted to take a chance with the inexperienced Nawab, 22-year-old Nawab. Why not? Why not to take a chance with the Nawab? Okay. When coronation festival had taken place, swearing in ceremony for Shiraz had taken place, all European merchants attended the ceremony. English boycotted it. Deliberately they boycotted it. First point of difference. After all, they are merchants. It's expected of the fellows to call upon the new Nawab. They are Nawab. English boycotted the swearing in ceremony, number one. Number two, you see, there was a contestant for the throne of Bengal against Shiraz, Shaukat Jain. Okay. English now secretly started supporting Shaukat Jain against Shiraz. This matter had gone to the notice of Shiraz, that English was supporting Shaukat Jain against Shiraz. They are supporting Shaukat Jang against Shiraz. This had gone to the notice of the English, Shiraz. There was a corrupt accountant in the court of Shiraz by name Kishan Das. Kishan Das misappropriated the public money. He was to be punished for that particular crime. English gave shelter to Kishan Das and refused to hand over Kishan Das to Shiraz, in spite of request coming from Shiraz. Then you see, 1756, the year Shiraz came to power. That particular year, Third Carnatic War started. Remember, 1756 to 63, Third Carnatic War. It is that Third Carnatic War started. Both English and the French started war preparations in Bengal. They are gearing themselves up to go for a clash with each other in the soil Bengal. Shiraz very much, sensitive to the problem because his grandfather gave him an advice. Remember? Now Shiraz ordered both the parties to desist themselves from war preparations in the soil Bengal. Both fortified their settlements. I told you, no permission for fortifying settlements, but both fortified their settlements, English and the French. Now Shiraz gave an ultimatum to the English and the French to destroy their fortifications. French respected the orders of Nawab and demolished their fortifications, whatever the fortifications they made. Because it was the order of the Nawab. Whereas English remained defiant. English refused to follow the orders of Nawab. This is something intolerable, the height of their defiance. That's why Shiraz declared war. Nawab Siraj-ud-Dawla declared war upon English, right? June 18, 1756. Here, Shiraz scored brilliant victory against the English, defeated them, occupied all their settlements. All their settlements means Hooghly, Dhaka, Chinsura, Kasi, Bazar. June 19, 1756, Shiraz entered into Kolkata, headquarters of the English. There also English defeated. Question in UPSC, defeated English took shelter at. The defeated English took shelter at Fulta Island near Kolkata. Here Shiraz committed grave mistakes. Number one, he allowed the defeated English to run away and to take shelter at Fulta. Our elders tell us not to spare three things: fire, death, and enemy. You shall not play with fire. Agni, Shetru, and Runa. Enemy. Don't underestimate enemy. You must end your enmity, otherwise he will strike you back. He will kill you. Runa, debt. If you are used to take loans, a point will come where you have to commit suicide. Understand? Here, history will never excuse Shiraz for being so lenient, turned complacent, understand? Allowing English to run away and to take shelter at Fulta. Had Shiraz chased the English and finished them all, killed them all, the course of history would have been entirely different. Course of history would have been entirely different. You should not go for war. When you go for war, no place there for mercy. Avoid war to the extent possible. When war takes place, all other things are secondary. Killing the enemy, that is the primary. Here Shiraz allowed English to run away and to take shelter at Fulta. Second grave mistake he committed, he appointed his close friend Manik Chand as governor of Kolkata. Manik Chand, man of loose morals, man of not integrity. He was made governor of Kolkata. Shiraz turned complacent, I told you. with his victory, celebrating his victory, went back to Murshidabad. Here it is said, on June 20th, a black hole incident supposed to have taken place. What do you mean by black hole incident? This incident was narrated. No contemporary text or historian talks about this incident. It's only the President of the Calcutta Council of English Merchants, President of the Calcutta Council of English Merchants, by name Howell, George Howell. Howell tells you about this incident. Then what is the incident about? It says that Shiraz captured nearly 220 odd English merchants, cramped them, all these 220 cramped in a very small room, dark room, where there is no light and flow of air. Very next day, only 18 to 20 merchants found alive. Rest of them all died of suffocation. This incident is what is called black hole incident. I told you, no contemporary historian talked about this. Nowhere it is mentioned. If you go for on-the-spot assessment of this incident, go to Secretariat building of West Bengal government today. Even today, you call it Writers building. Writers building, the headquarters for the English trade in Bengal. Even today, there is a Secretariat building, Writers building. We call it as Writers building, Mamata Banerjee's government. Right. There you go there, Secretariat building, and see the place. That's the place where the incident is supposed to have taken place. They will direct you to a small room, dark room, understand, where the incident is supposed to have taken place. Okay. On the spot assessment, you can make out very clearly, no chance for the incident to take place. Okay. However much you try to cram, you understand, men of my size, okay, maximum 10-15, that's all. Maximum 10-15. How can you cram 220 merchants there? It's such a small room, dark room. Understand? Means what? Howell is concocting a story, fabricating a story here to malign the image of Nawab. Nawab was not man of that traits. Had he been the man of that traits, first of all, he wouldn't have allowed the defeated English to run away. Understand? So this incident, we are not, according any, importance and validity to this incident. For us, it is definitely a historical. It had not taken place. Then what happened here? Defeated English taking shelter at Fulta asked for help from the Madras government. Madras government sent Colonel Clive. I told you, my dear, half an hour ago, Robert Clive was, after all, an accountant. When he captured Arcot, A-R-C-O-T, Arcot. Now Clive, Colonel Clive, the day when he captured Arcot, Clive's name had become a household name in England. Clive never looked back in his career. Now he is promoted to a very high rank, Colonel Clive. Colonel Clive and Admiral Watson, these two were sent by the Madras government in a rescue operation in support of the defeated English taking shelter at Fulta. Clive and Watson, they reached Fulta in December 1756. Clive knew how to handle the issue. First, Clive bribed Manikchand, governor of Kolkata. I told you, not man of integrity. Kolkata's governor, Manikchand, bribed by Clive. Clive offering Manikchand 3 W's. You know 3 W's. Wine, woman, wealth. What do you want, Manikchand fellow? Understand? Tomorrow, if you are into the top services also, you will have all these 3. Understand? Very rarely you come across officers above, temptations. Manikchand won over by Clive. This Manikchand now bribed, won over by Clive, mediating between English and Nawab Shiraz. convincing Shiraz that English were repenting for what that had taken place. It's because of the mediation efforts of Manik Chand, Shiraz agreed to, talk to the English. That led to what is called Alinagar Treaty. I forgot to tell you one thing here. When Shiraz occupied Kolkata, he changed the name of Kolkata into Alinagar. Ali is named after his grandfather, okay, Alivardi Khan. Right. He changed the name of Kolkata into Alinagar. So in 1757 February, Alinagar Treaty was signed. Alinagar Treaty was signed between Shiraz and the English. English agreed to pay the customs duties time to time. English agreed to follow the instructions of Nawab Shiraz from time to time. Means what? Basic problem for Nawab Shiraz, his word shall prevail as the Nawab. Get the point? That way they satisfied his ego. Nawab granted them the permission to revive their trade. All that settlements restored to the English. Again and again I am telling you, why the Nawabs were lenient? Because the trade benefiting native Indian merchants more. If you are not allowing them to trade, means you are equally affected. You are equally affected. That's why Nawab restored the settlements, allowed them to have their trade. The way Alinagar Treaty ended, definitely not satisfying Robert Clive. Clive was not happy with Alinagar Treaty. Now you see the sinister designs of Clive. Why not they experiment the same in Bengal? Same, I mean here what they had done in Carnatic and Hyderabad. They got their own candidates installed on the throne of Carnatic and Hyderabad. Why not they do the same in Bengal? What is the point of doing that in Carnatic, a barren land? Understand? English were not interested ever in Carnatic. Okay. For that matter, I told you they had never, had a territory of their own in Carnatic. The resources-wise, Carnatic very poor. Okay. If you have to do this, a game, bringing your own candidate to power, you have to do it in Bengal. Bengal the richest. Now from 1757 March, Clive was after a conspiracy. Understand? A conspiracy of that type you never come across again in modern India. Understand? Clive now started negotiating secretly with the men who matter there in the court of Shiraz. Okay. The wonderful way he conspired and he executed the conspiracy, it's amazing. Okay. Not giving any suspicion for Shiraz. Okay. Not giving any suspicion for Shiraz at no point. Clive started negotiating with Chief Commander Mir Jafar. Remember, Mir Jafar, Chief Commander. Designation Mir Bakshi. Chief Commander is called Mir Bakshi. Mir Jafar, you see, the maternal uncle of Shiraz. That's what is very interesting. Maternal uncle of Shiraz, Mir Jafar, Chief Commander of Bengal Army. Right. The best artillery commander in India at that time. Mir Jafar, highly qualified. The best artillery commander of in India at that time. He is the chief commander of the Bengal armed forces. Clive promised Mir Jafar to make him Nawab. We will remove Shiraz. Once Shiraz removed, you Mir Jafar, you will be made the Nawab. That way he won over Mir Jafar to his side. When Mir Jafar becomes the Nawab, the post chief commander would fall vacant. He offered that. Clive offered that to Manik Chand. Manik Chand, he will be made Mir Bakshi, chief commander. Next, number 3, the most powerful Jamindar in the court of Shiraz, Rai Durlab. Rai Durlab, Jamindar of Burdwan. Burdwan Jamindari, very powerful Jamindars. Okay. Now Clive offered Rai Durlab, Jamindar of Burdwan, 2 more Jamindaris. Arey, why only Buradwan? Raidullah, take two more, Midnapur and Chittagong. Two more Jamindaris. That way he won over Raidullah to his side. Jagat Seth, the richest banker. You got questions on this. Who was Jagat Seth? Jagat Seth, the richest banker of Bengal. Clive won over Jagat Seth to his side, promising Jagat Seth 40 lakh rupees if he joins the conspiracy. You, Jagat Seth, join us in the conspiracy. You will be paid 40 lakh rupees. Khidam Khan, another noble commander of Shiraz, was also won over. You may ask me a question, how Clive could hate this conspiracy? Okay. Problem here, language problem. Clive was not conversant with Persian. These conspirators not conversant with English. Clive required here a mediator. Mediator, Womi Chand, the rich Sindhi merchant. Double O-O-M-I, Womi Chand, the rich Sindhi merchant. He was the mediator between Clive and the other conspirators. A Dubashi, translator also. Clive promised Womi Chand 20 lakh rupees. Understand? Womi Chand not happy. क्यों मैं तो 40 लाख रुपए दे जगत सेठ को. Why 20 lakh rupees to me? Now Womi Chand started blackmailing Clive. Pay me on par with Jagat Seth, otherwise I will disclose the entire conspiracy to Nawab. Blackmailing Robert Clive. What to do? Now Clive agreed to pay 40 lakh rupees to Womi Chand also. But the problem here is, what is the guarantee? See, one crook can't trust the other crook, right? One conspirator can't trust the other conspirator. They need one gentleman, you understand? Now, Womi Chand put forth the condition that Colonel, Clive, Admiral Watson to stand by as guarantor, understand, for the secret deal. Problem, Clive was not for discussing these things with Watson. Watson warned Clive not to interfere in the internal politics of Bengal. Gentleman Watson, we call him. So Clive was not for bringing Watson, whereas this fellow was insisting that Watson should agree and stand by as guarantor. That's why Robert Clive executed a bond. See this, what he is doing. Robert Clive executed a bond, promising 40 lakh rupees to Womi Chand on par with Jagat Seth, with forged signature of Watson. Understand? Question in UPSC. By certain of his acts, Clive marred the name and fame. Understand? Marred his name and fame by certain of his acts. We call Robert Clive commander coming from heavens. It was Clive who built the British Empire, laid the foundations for British Empire. But man never stood up to the image he had. Now you see, he forged the signature of Watson. Clive turned highly corrupt. Understand? Crooked mentality. Highly corrupt. And highly indisciplined. In civil services, this is a major crime. You are forging the signature of another officer. Understand? Now Clive got the bond executed. Convinced Womi Chand that he would also be paid on par with Jagat Seth. Understand? So Womi Chand silenced. Conspiracy worked out. Now they are waiting for an opportunity. This conspiracy haged March 1757, April, May, June. Clive had to wait for 3 months. He turned impatient. On what grounds? You see, now we worked out the conspiracy. It's not that you worked out the conspiracy, you can declare war, right? You need one ground also to go for war. You can't simply say war. On what grounds you can go for war with Nawab? You have got to go for war with Nawab, otherwise this conspiracy gets diluted. It will definitely get diluted. Spirit gets diluted. You must execute the plan at the earliest. Okay. And it happened in an accidental way. Okay. It is not a planned battle. Accident again, unexpected. What was that unexpected event? Okay. You see, Clive and his assistant commandant, Neil Patricks, they were going for inspecting their cannons. Okay. You have to fire, you understand, cannons at regular intervals, otherwise they will become outdated, right? Okay. While these cannons were being tested on the banks of river Bhagirathi, okay, Neil Patricks had seen Nawab army coming in the opposite direction. They went for vigilance, gasti. They were returning back to their, garrisons, their cantonment areas. Clive had seen, Neil Patricks had seen this, Nawab's army coming in the opposite direction. Neil Patricks ordered for stopping the firing. Okay. An idea flashed in the mind of Clive. Clive ordered the firing to be continued. Firing continued on Nawab's troops. Nawab's troops were definitely taken aback. Why the firing? For no provocative act from their side. Okay. So Nawab's army gave back in return for self-defense firing. That's how the Battle of Plassey started, each party blaming the other. Definitely fault lies with company troops. They fired upon the Nawab's army. Okay. Because they need one excuse or the other to go for war. Okay. Battle of Plassey, June 22nd, 1757, on the banks of river Bhagirathi. Understand? Now when the battle started, it's Nawab chief commander. Chief commander's role here. He should go for the battlefield, right? Mir Jafar had not participated. Raidullah, Mir Jafar, they had not taken part in the Battle of Plassey, lurking behind the mangroves, watching the situation, what was going on in the battlefield. Mir Jafar fellow. Okay. On behalf of Nawab Siraj, Mohanlal, Mir Madan, Kishan Lal, brilliant commanders, they took the lead. Had the battle to go for 2 more hours, that would definitely end with the defeat of the English. Clive commanding 3,200, whereas Siraj's army was 5 times more than that. There is every chance of Siraj winning the battle. Okay. Now chief commander watching this situation, standing behind the mangroves, Mir Jafar entered into the battlefield, asking Mir Madan, Kishan Lal, Mohanlal to retreat, creating confusion in the camp. Why suddenly chief commander entered into the battlefield, ordering the commanders to retreat? Okay. Poor fellow Siraj sensed a conspiracy. My dear, I tell you, if Siraj happened to be there in the battlefield and continued the battle, he would have won the battle. Poor fellow started running away. Siraj ran away. Siraj was caught by Myron, son of Mir Jafar, and Siraj was killed. This is the law of nature. Okay. Alivardi Khan killed the grandson of Murshid Quli, Sarfaraz Khan, and came to power. Now Alivardi's grandson killed. Right? If I kill someone's grandson, my grandson would also be killed. Law of nature is so sharp. Understand? Battle of Plassey. Questions in UPSC. Was this a battle or betrayal? Number 1. Number 2, Battle of Plassey, can we call it first revolution? That's a question. Battle of Plassey called first revolution. Battle of Plassey made Bengal not only a plundered state but also a sponsored state. Discuss. See, the first question, was this a battle or a betrayal? Definitely it was a betrayal. Okay. More a betrayal than a battle. Casualties wise, okay. Nawab lost 39 soldiers. Okay. English East India Company lost 15 soldiers. Casualties was also, it's not a big battle. Okay. And a clean case of betrayal. Chief commander entering into the field in the last moment, creating confusion, joined hands with the enemy. A clear case of betrayal. Was this first revolution? Yes, first revolution. Okay. I am explaining the reasons why it was called first revolution. Follow this carefully. Okay. UPSC gave a question. 1757 first revolution. They had not mentioned Battle of Plassey. 1757 first revolution. Do you agree? People got it confused with 1857. अरे ये मिस्टेक है 1757 नहीं है 1857 होता है अंडरस्टैंड लिखो 1757 okay, the first revolution, Battle of Plassey called first revolution. Why you call it first revolution? I told you many a time, revolutions in history, sudden events, right? Sudden events with far-reaching consequences are called revolutions. That way, yes, Battle of Plassey. Until the last moment, even Clive was not so sure about the battle. That way it was sudden or planned. It was definitely sudden. Until the last moment, even Clive was not confident about the battle to take place. That way it was definitely a sudden event, unexpected. Now you see the consequences, far-reaching consequences. Okay. That change in the course of the history of India. Okay. What are these consequences? Consequences number one, with the Battle of Plassey, English East India Company, after all a merchant company, company of traders, now became a territorial power in India. I already told you, they had no territories in Carnatic, even though they controlled Carnatic. Okay. With the Battle of Plassey, English East India Company became a territorial power in India. The new Nawab, Mir Jafar, now Mir Jafar, they made Mir Jafar the Nawab of Bengal. Mir Jafar granted English East India Company 24 Pargana Jamindari. This 24 Pargana Jamindari, my dear, even today you have 24 Pargana districts, right? West Bengal. 24 Pargana Jamindari, the first territory acquired by the English in India. That way they became a territorial power, number one. Next, number two, they became the de facto rulers of Bengal, kingmakers in Bengal. They made their candidate Mir Jafar to sit on the throne of Bengal. Mir Jafar, a sponsored candidate, okay, candidate of the English, now completely controlled, understand, by the English. He was only a dummy, only namesake, the Nawab. Actual control wielded by the English. Mir Jafar, English, the de facto rulers of Bengal. Mir Jafar, only for namesake, the Nawab. Okay. Next, thoroughly, they went for third one. They went for thorough reorganization of the administration of Bengal. They removed all the loyalists of Mir Jafar, Nawab Siraz in the administration. Bengal administration now came to be manned by the loyalists of the English. Whole administration practically under their control. Okay. There are political developments. In the economic front, you see how it was a revolution. Revolution because of drain of wealth. Remember, my dear, drain of wealth started for the first time from Bengal. The richest Subha under the Mughals. Okay. The day when Mir Jafar came to power, Mir Jafar made very rich gifts and presentations to the English to the tune of 5 lakh pounds. You can't believe it. You can't believe it if I say between 1757 to 1765, okay, to the tune of 29 million pounds, the resources of Bengal looted. 29 million pounds. Understand? Whose money is that? Okay. The people of Bengal, their revenues. Okay. Mir Jafar, okay, paying these rich revenues to the English in the form of bribes. Understand? Rich presentations. That way Bengal, listen, Bengal, a sponsored state and also a plundered state. Sponsored state, Mir Jafar the sponsored candidate. Plundered, looted state. Drain of wealth started for the first time in modern India from Bengal. That way, yes, it's a revolution. Never India's resources got drained up so badly. Never the resources of India got drained up so badly. Unfortunate development. That way, revolution. A revolution because the process of deindustrialization got accentuated. I told you, English already targeted our shipbuilding industry, dhows the shipbuilding in our Indian ships, right? This shipbuilding industry, the first industry affected. Now you see deindustrialization process entering into handicraft industry. I told you Dhaka muslins, world renowned. Dhaka, Chinsura, Kasim Bazar, Murshidabad, major centers of trade. Now English is systematically causing destruction to these Indian handicraft industries. Unless you cause destruction to the Indian industry, you can't promote your industry. That's as simple as that. Okay. It's because they are the rulers, de facto rulers of Bengal. So a process of deindustrialization had taken place in Bengal. That's why a revolution. And let me go to the social sphere. Revolution in social sphere, in what sense? The day when English became the de facto rulers of Bengal, it created definitely great unrest in Bengal. Why? Why? Because the new Nawab, they made the new Nawab Mir Jafar to lift ban on Christian missionary activities. You know, Christian missionary activities, they were banned. Why they were banned? The missionary activities were often insensitive, definitely insensitive. There's a question in UPSC. Christian missionary activities insensitive. They hurt the sentiments of the Indians, undermined the dignity of Hinduism and Islam. Okay. Causing tremendous unrest in Indian society. That's why Indian rulers, they never permitted the Christian missionary propaganda to go beyond a point. Now, the English themselves, the rulers, de facto rulers, they got their candidate Mir Jafar to lift the ban on Christian missionary activity, creating tremendous unrest in Bengal society. That's the reason why, my dear, Bengal the main center for Renaissance. Renaissance and the reformist movements. All these developments are very closely connected with the Battle of Plassey. That's why you call it as First Revolution. Is it clear? First Revolution. Okay. As per the conspiracy, Mir Jafar the Nawab, Clive promised whatever that he had promised, he delivered. He refused to pay a single paisa to Homi Chand fellow. Homi Chand waiting with that forged document, right? Okay. Homi Chand now went to London to file a case against Robert Clive in Privy Council. Privy Council, a legal body attached to the House of Lords. House of Lords would act as a legal body, trialing the cases involving the civil servants. Homi Chand filed a case against Robert Clive. Privy Council struck down the case. Struck down the case in favor of Clive. In favor of Clive. You know on what grounds? Very interesting. Look at the criminal mind of Clive. Clive got this bond executed on a red paper. Legal bond. Executed on red paper. And red paper is not valid. All legal bonds must be executed on white paper only. Homi Chand died of shock. Heartbroken, the fellow died in London. Okay. Now you can construct the answer for the question given by UPSC. By certain of his acts, Clive marred the name and fame. Understand? You know these acts. Okay. This is Battle of Plassey.